Rising with each beat of the music is ringing. We're flames in the fire that keeps burning. We're inviting the night in.
Tactical nuke incoming!
So, for those who don't know, or have never heard of something called the guilt by association fallacy, it's a fallacy that occurs when someone connects an opponent to a demonized group of people or to a bad person in order to discredit his or her argument. The idea is that the person is guilty by simply being similar to this bad group and therefore should not be listened to by anything or about anything. Or if you want another definition, a moral guilt or unfitness presumed to exist on the basis of one's known associations. Now, I'm sure a couple of people are probably wondering why I'm bringing this up, or at least mentioning guilt by association. Well, it's due to the fact that there is an individual who has commented on my videos recently who's tried to use the guilt by association fallacy in order to try to denounce myself or many others, especially when it comes to dog ownership. And to be fair, when it comes to the title, I couldn't tell whether I should put this as a radical animal activist video or rather the dog hater video. I figured I'd just go with the latter, considering that, well, this comment was on one of my canine aversion videos. Or was it the I hate dogs? Either or. It's one of the dog haters from the dog hater cult. But anyway, let's go ahead and look at these comments that I've pulled from my videos. And first off, actually, I should mention something really funny. Just recently, for quite a long time, Canine Aversion decided to post a few comments. This being one of them, which was really hilarious, especially since they claimed to, or at least asked me to watch their channel for the, I'm using quotes by the way, the truth about dogs and their owners. You'd think, though, that either by watching my videos, which I'm sure they've watched my videos, or if anything, realize that I've periodically debunked their videos in the past. So you'd think that by now they would realize that I'm not falling for their fraudulent and offensive behavior towards a topic that more likely 90% they don't understand. Actually, not even 90%, probably 100. But, that's just my opinion. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and get to the crux of the video. A YouTube user going by the channel name Earth with a Groot profile picture decided to post comments on my video. The video in question that this person decided to comment on was the Canine Aversion Denies Truth of Dog Haters Supporting Animal Cruelty. Now, for those who don't remember that particular video, which I'll leave a link down below, I basically go over Canine Aversion commenting on my videos, as well as describing some of the hypocritical behaviors from Canine Aversion, not only with her bringing up a couple of notions of her almost committing animal cruelty, actually in one case committing animal cruelty, but also some of her followers supporting animal cruelty, as well as sharing videos of animal cruelty, and to an extent, especially with people that disagree with them, proceeding to make threats of graphic cruelty towards the individuals that have criticized them. So yeah, fun video there. And this individual decided to post a couple comments. Now, usually I'm open to, or at least when it comes down to freedom of speech, or at least letting people have their opinions, I try to be very open, especially when it comes to other people's thoughts or opinions. But I think I've made it clear, especially with a few people, is don't get upset especially when your opinions are kind of corrupt and not so thought out, that you are then criticized by myself and many others. Because, oh boy, This individual decides to try to use guilt by association because, in some sense, because I have supported dogs, or at least have given my thoughts on some of the things that Canine Aversion has said in her videos, not just her, but various other people in the dog hating cult or the radical dog haters, that they are now considering me, or at least using guilt by association for a lot of the other things that have happened to dogs over the years.
This guy is fucking stupid!
Dog owners are responsible for 6 million abandoned and euthanized dogs every year. Isn't it cruel to breed dogs for profit and selfish entertainment? How many more dogs need to die at the hands of dog owners and their cruel industry? How many deaths will it take? Who is killing and abusing? Dog owners or a dog free? Thank you.
I'm kind of wondering if this is one of those people that support organizations like PETA, which, spoiler alert, they're no different than any of the shelters, or at least some of the shelters that end up having to euthanize animals when they get too full. Sometimes when it comes to PETA, especially since they, don't believe in dog ownership or pet ownership, when their facilities get too full, they proceed to euthanize and kill a lot of the animals that they have kidnapped or taken into their custody. Now, to kind of break this down piece by piece, this comment, first of all, I love the fact that you want to clump all dog owners together as people who abandon and euthanize their dogs. A lot of people don't do that. You do realize that, right? I myself, when it comes to my dogs, one of them's adopted and the other is a rescue. One of them, who I should point out, was abandoned, and after a while for trying to find their owner, nobody popped up, and I proceeded to adopt her. Now, in this comment, you also bring up, the abandonment of and euthanization. Now, oh gosh, I'm going to get flack for this, I know it, but when it comes down to euthanization, first of all, I hate the fact that we end up having to kill some of these animals, but at the same time, there's not much we can do, considering that when it comes down to dog and cat populations, if they're not spayed or neutered, their populations grow rapidly. And usually when it comes to shelters trying to apprehend or try to receive abandoned animals or feral animals, sometimes their shelters end up becoming overcrowded, and they end up having to put some of these animals down. It's an unfortunate thing, and I don't like it, but at the same time, there's not much we can do about it. Heck, that's why, and a lot of times, especially when it comes to shelters, if you adopt a pet from a shelter, the male or female animal is usually spayed or neutered. But that's also not the case of people euthanizing animals. Another case is the fact that some animals, when they're brought into a shelter, may be injured or really sick, and it's determined by the shelters themselves of whether or not they're able to get them back on their feet, and if they would be even capable of putting them back out into the world with a new owner. Now, the next point you make is about breeding dogs for profit and selfish entertainment. I'm assuming you're probably talking about, people using dogs in dog shows, or if anything, breeding dogs for them to produce puppies and sell them off. First off, I don't think you should be lumping a lot of other dog owners together, especially when it comes to people like that will, breed their animals. I myself don't do that. I have 2 female dogs, and I have no intention of breeding them whatsoever, as well as using them for selfish entertainment, as you like to put it. Usually when it comes down to it, my dogs, who are very good and well-mannered dogs, I should add, half the time when I'm at home, they will sit with me, watch TV, and that's about it. And go outside when they need to, and eat and drink when they need to. So all in all, I myself am not, and I kind of wish you would kind of give more of an example of what you mean, because at this extent, I don't consider myself part of that category. But again, I think you're using the guilt of association because all those are dog related. So you're going to try to lump me as the same thing to try to demonize my character, which honestly I don't approve of. You make the comment of how many dogs need to die at the hands of dog owners and this cruel industry. How many deaths will it take? Again, it's when it comes down to, especially when it comes down to abandonment and euthanization, there's not much we can do. It's something that unfortunately we have, especially if the dog is either, when they come into a shelter, is either sick or they're hurt, or if anything, there's overcrowding. There's a lot. All I could say is, because I've never worked at a shelter, there's a lot of factors that go into euthanization, and I'm not going to pretend like I know, but I could say I would probably have to guess that there's factors as to why they would euthanize some of the animals that they euthanize. Again, I hate it. I don't like it, but there are reasons that they do it. Hence, again, why, especially like in some cases where, in the cases of overcrowding, that when a dog is adopted, the dog or cat is either spaded or neutered. And then their final comment, or at least their question in that comment, was, who is killing and abusing dogs, dog owners or dog free? Now I'm assuming they mean like, people who support PETA, which again, knowing PETA's track record, I would not want to put a dog in the hands of PETA. But to claim that all dog owners abuse their animals is negligent, to say the least. And clearly you don't know what you're talking about. After that, somebody who follows me periodically on my videos, by the name of Old Fashioned Men, decided to comment back to what they said.
So killing other people's pets is the solution. Mass vandalism is the solution. That somehow wouldn't be even more offensive and even more controversial.
To which Earth then replies,
Ask the dog owners. They're the ones doing the killing. Dog ownership causes dog and animal death, not us. Dog owners are the ones that make dogs suffer, not us. Dog owners are the ones killing innocent animals for dog food. Dog owners have much more experience in killing, vandalism, and raping. They enjoy it.
So, you gotta love the ignorance in this comment, claiming that everything is in the fault of dog owners, that we kill, though there's no evidence or any examples to such a claim, that we cause the death of dogs and animals, even though there's no explanation or if anything, no examples. Dog owners are the ones that make dogs suffer. Ultimately, I have to say, depending on the person, because as I've stated previously in a variety of my different videos, but I'm sure this person will probably never watch them, bad dog equals bad owner. Usually, and I know that canine aversion doesn't want to understand this concept, is usually there's a lot of shitty people. And when they are shitty, not just to people, but to their dogs in turn take in some of that behavior and become shitty dogs themselves. They go on to talk about this. This person goes on to talk about how we kill innocent animals for dog food. Now, there was an example I was going to make at the beginning of the video, which I kind of kept myself from making, where you have animal activists going into convenience stores and shaming people for buying meat when they're trying to get their groceries and go home. It's not, we weren't the ones that killed the animal so the animal can then be processed and then made into product for the grocer, but we ourselves who are buying are killing the animal. I feel like there's a dangerous trend with that, especially when you try to pit blame on somebody who, unfortunately, when it comes down to their diet, can't there's issues of people can't change in their diet, and you're shaming them for something that they cannot fucking change. And by the way, especially when it comes to dogs too, dog food, yes, it does have some meat product in it, but you got to realize dogs are to an extent carnivorous, which I find it funny and also abusive, especially when you have several vegans. I'm not saying every vegan does this, but I'm saying some of them do. Good example, Vegan Gains, who, and I'm sure I'm going to get flack for that, by the way, who purchased a Czechoslovakian wolf dog, tried to make it vegan, and got butthurt at the breeder for trying to make the dog vegan, and the dog itself becoming emancipated and not being able to keep down the food that him and his spouse were feeding it. To the point where it got to the point where it was borderline animal cruelty, and they had to force their own beliefs and give the dog what it needed, which was meat. Now, with the comment of dog owners having more experience in killing and vandalizing and raping, again, I have to refer to my comment about PETA, because there's been remarks of PETA, actually not only that, but evidence of PETA not only kidnapping and collecting animals, but because they don't believe in the dog ownership or any ownership of an animal in general, those shelters that are owned by PETA eventually get overcrowded, and they end up having to kill the dogs anyways. So in a sense, when it comes down to organizations like PETA, they probably kill more animals than we do.
Animal cruelty is breeding dogs for profit and entertainment. Animal cruelty is slaughtering innocent animals for dog food. Animal cruelty is keeping sled dogs in your home. Animal cruelty is promoting dogs with birth defects as cute. Pugs, bulldogs, chow chows, and all biophilic breeds. Animal cruelty is chopping the nuts off a dog so you can play Dr. Dolittle. Animal cruelty is raping and removing the ovaries of a dog so it can become your pet. Animal cruelty is ripping away puppies from their mother so you can own them as property. Animal cruelty is prolonging the life of a suffering dog for your twisted ego. Animal cruelty is puppy mills.
Okay, let's break this down because I want to get this over with. In case people were wondering what animal cruelty is, or at least a good idea of it, which I will leave a link in the description for the humanesociety.org. Animal cruelty encompasses a range of behaviors harmful to animals, from neglect to malice or malicious killing. Most cruelty investigated by humane officers is unintentional neglect that can be resolved through education. Intentional cruelty can run the gamut from knowingly depriving an animal of food, water, shelter, socialization, or veterinarian care to maliciously torturing, maiming, mutilating, or killing an animal. Okay, so now that we've talked about that, let's go through this comment step by step. First off, breeding dogs for profit and entertainment. I wish you would show examples or given examples instead of just giving up a quick statement, because if anything, as long as the dogs are taken care of and they aren't put in like cages, or at least left in cages for breeding, that's the responsibility of the owner to make sure that dogs are okay, as well as, especially when it comes down to dogs being used for entertainment. I would assume stuff for like dog shows. Then again, as long as the dogs are okay, there shouldn't be any issue, as long as there isn't any sign of animal cruelty. Slaughtering innocent animals for dog food, I've already made a comment about this just a little bit ago. Again, because at this point, dogs to an extent are carnivorous, especially when it comes to them eating animals. They have to eat animals. If anything, as I pointed out, doing something like some vegans are doing, where they try to make their dog into a vegan dog, is more neglectful than the dog owners that you're trying to accuse for animal cruelty. Keeping sled dogs in your home. Again, you need to give an example. And honestly, if it's it's their dogs. They're allowed to do whatever the fuck they want. Promoting dogs with birth defects, or as cute. Pugs, bulldogs, chow chows, and any other breeds. I don't know what a chow chow is. That's actually, surprisingly, that's a dog I've never heard of. But when it comes to bulldogs and pugs, if a person finds it to be cute, granted, especially when it comes to health conditions, I'm sure the dog owners take into consideration their health issues. So if anything, especially when it comes to dogs that aren't unwanted, if a person wants to have a pug or bulldog, then they're allowed to have the dog or bulldog or pug. They are willing to take the risks of, making sure that dog is taken care of. If anything, that goes above and beyond what you claim to be animal cruelty. Okay, the big one, or at least two. Removing the ovaries and the nuts of a dog. Basically spade or neutering. This one's a big issue I'm kind of on and off about, because both my dogs, as far as I know, especially with one of them, are not spaded. Now, when it comes to my dogs in particular, I have to say, at least as far as I know, especially in case of one of them, both of them are not spaded. And it's up to the owner of whether or not they spade or neuter their dogs. But I know in a lot of cases, especially when it comes down to trying to go to the vet to make sure your dog is okay, a lot of places nowadays recommend that your dog, or at least if anything, will refuse service if your dog is not spayed or neutered. In a lot of cases now, especially when it comes to or reducing shelters being overcrowded, animals that are adopted are usually spaded or neutered beforehand, before they're pretty much put on display for a person to adopt the animal. All right, the next one, which is animal cruelty, is ripping away puppies from their mother so you can own them as property. First off, especially when it comes down to the puppies, if a dog is pregnant, I don't understand this, especially if the dog owner itself is willing to give the puppies away. I don't understand the issue, and I kind of wish you would have, especially with a lot of these, I wish you would have gave more context to what you're saying, because at this point, sometimes, especially when people who don't or get to have the option not to spade or neutered their pets, sometimes, yes, the dog gets pregnant or the animal gets pregnant, and in the end, if a person doesn't want the other puppies because they feel that it may be too much money for them, or if anything, a lot of work, especially for a ton of puppies, they are given the option to, put out an ad and give the dogs out for adoption. Now, ultimately, I think or at least I wish you would kind of give it a better explanation as why you think people who get puppies from a different owner is considered animal cruelty, especially when, again, with a lot of people, when they are, or at least adopt an animal, they treat the animal very well. In fact, in some cases, or at least in some studies, an animal that is taken care of by not the mother dog, but rather the person, within a certain amount of time, the dog considers them as the caregiver. And as long as the person is good to the dog, the dog will also display, to an extent, especially with the training of the owner, good behavior. So again, I wish with some of these statements, these I want to say fraudulent statements, that you would give in explanations, or at least descriptions, or if anything, just examples, because I just feel like you're just spewing things out of your ass to try to make yourself seem like you're the one that's in the right, but whatever. Last one is prolonging the life of a suffering dog for your twisted ego. I'm not going to respond to that one because I wish they would have given a better example or at least a better explanation instead of just a blatant statement. The last one is puppy mills. Now, for puppy mills, that one I have to agree. That one is above all animal or cruel to animals. For those who don't know what that is a mass breeding facility that produces puppies for sale. Puppy mills is one of the largest commercial dog breeding operations in the world, where the emphasis is more on profit than the health of the dogs. In these mills, many puppies are plagued with illnesses like heart or kidney disease as a result of the poor conditions in which they are kept in. Female dogs are bred with little to no recovery time after or between their litters, and when the dog or female dog reaches the stage when they are unable to reproduce litter, they are often killed. It is estimated that in America, every year approximately 2.11 million puppies originate from puppy mills and are sold, while approximately 3 million are killed in shelters due to the scarcity of adoptive homes. Now, when it comes to that one, I have to agree. That is an example of animal cruelty. However, I don't support puppy mills. So, in a sense, I don't support that kind of behavior. Though, I have a feeling that due to the fact that I myself and many others are dog owners, you'll claim that we are at fault anyways because, it's related to dogs, therefore we have to take the blame. Which goes back to the whole guilt by association fallacy. You want to put the blame on us because we own dogs, even though, in some sense, a lot of us, especially myself, don't agree with the actions of places like puppy mills. So, in some sense, this whole accusation that dog owners are the epitome of evil, that we are at fault for everything, is obnoxious and fraudulent. So, unfortunately for this individual, I have to say, especially when it comes to comments, I appreciate you trying to give your opinions, but next time, please give a better example of what you're trying to say and not a blatant statement. Because at this point, especially when it comes to dog ownership, or especially when it comes down to being called something I'm not, I take seriously. And sometimes, yes, I joke around about it, but when you try to lump me in certain other situations involving dogs, then I'm going to take the defensive, and I'm going to call you out for your bullshit. Now, if you have any examples of what you were trying to say in your comments, the next time, if you decide to watch this video, leave a comment and explaining each of your explaining yourself on each of your points. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and more likely respond to what you have to say. Until then, though, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media and Discord, there's the links down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Novakast signing off. Have a good one, and take care. Peace.